for the past few days, I've been talking to one of the Selaco devs, and one thing has become very clear. They are extremely passionate about this project. Well, not just this project, but every game that inspired this project. Anytime I came across an Easter egg or a reference to another one of those old games, they were ecstatic. Not just that I found it, but that I understood what it was a reference to. And there is a ton of these Easter eggs and references to other games, or just some things that are part of the game's design. This room here, this is just taken directly from F.E.A.R. The voice coming over the intercom, this is almost taken directly from Doom 3.
Selaco, a state-of-the-art and self-sustaining ecosystem. Welcome to your new home.
Welcome to Mars City, Union Aerospace's premier research facility.
So was the whole atmosphere of the entire game. At one point I came across a spa, and it slowly started to heal me. And when I say slowly, I mean really slowly. Right away, I figured this had to be a reference to the Zen healing pools in the original Half-Life. The moment I left the room, I saw this. Yeah, it definitely was. Hell, some of these references are blatantly in your face.
I'll take point, man. No need to fear.
All of this is not to say that Selaco isn't its own game with its own identity and its own gameplay, just that it is heavily inspired by mid-2000s shooters, and that's exactly what it is. It's what I like to call a woo shooter. Why do I call it this? Well, because it's inspired by the original F.E.A.R, which is also heavily inspired by John Woo films. What is the main thing that needs to happen in these games? Lots and lots of particle effects. The combat encounters need to be pure chaos. Explosions, blood, papers flying everywhere, sparks all over the place. I really wish games fully went this route. At the time, it was almost not noticed. Everyone thought F.E.A.R was an amazing game, but continued to follow Half-Life instead. Not to say that Half-Life isn't amazing, but a woo shooter is almost an offshoot of Half-Life's. There's still a lot of Half-Life DNA in this style of game, but it's unique enough to be its own thing. So now that I've established what Selaco is, let me go into a little more detail about the game. Also, yes, my voice probably sounds really terrible. I'm getting over being sick, so I apologize for that. In fact, I had the flu for the last 2 weeks. I played this game with the flu, even though I should have been in bed, and I felt terrible, but I really wanted to play this game. Yeah, I'm not going to wait to the end of the video to tell you that this is a really good game. The flu wasn't enough to keep me in bed. I wanted to play this game that much. It's a good game and you should definitely buy it. Anyway, I've already briefly mentioned how many particle effects are going on in this game, and this is where I need to mention that somehow, in some way, this all runs on the GZDoom engine. Now, I know the GZDoom engine isn't the original engine. It's been changed and is an open source project and is something totally different at this point, but this engine was simply not made to do the things that Selaco were doing. Three main examples. The first one are all the crazy particle effects, which also serve to be really useful if you ever get lost on a map because you know exactly where you've been by the carnage. The second example is the AI. If you want to make a woo shooter, the AI has to be smart. This is not a recommendation. This is a requirement. F.E.A.R's AI is legendary. You need something at least akin to that. This game thankfully does that well. The AI in this game does not sit back, but it also doesn't feel like a dumb boomer shooter AI that will run straight at you. They will try to flank you, and they will try to pin you. If you're not constantly repositioning, they will delete you, even on normal difficulty, very quickly. This is fantastic. This means that the gameplay is not just for show. All those fancy particle effects aren't there just to make you feel good. The combat as a whole keeps your brain engaged. And the third example of GZDoom being things it shouldn't be able to do are huge maps. GZDoom has always kind of struggled with this, and the best example I have is this part. Now, I don't know how many other people are going to get the same feeling, but this felt a lot like ODST. And I messaged the dev about this, and they said no, that's just a coincidence, which is fair. I mean, a nighttime futuristic sci-fi city is not exactly something unique to ODST. But damn, I really love this vibe. Also, again, it's running in the GZDoom engine. Also, it has fantastic music. Maybe not ODST good, but still insanely good. This game as a whole has really good music. It will be on Spotify and it will be purchasable on Steam sometime soon after launch. Okay, but what is this city? What is going on? Why is the city completely dark? Why is it empty? Well, to be honest, I don't entirely know. What I do know is that you're not on Earth. This city is called Selaco. Something horrible happened to Earth, and this city is trying to replicate everything you had on Earth, but on Mars. This city going completely dark like this? That's because there's a huge screen above you trying to replicate Earth's sky. Now, how much you get out of the story in this game really depends on one thing: how many PDAs you're going to read. This part is very much so like Doom 3, reading these PDAs to get cabinet codes. To be honest, that's pretty much the entirety of how much I paid attention to them. If you read all of these, you're going to get a lot of information out of this story, but gamers tend not to have patience for reading. You're playing a game, I just want to shoot stuff, damn it. Okay, to be fair, I was on a time crunch. I usually would have read a lot of these. That said, I would have liked to see a little more, not necessarily in-your-face storytelling, but more blunt world building through other characters. Now, this is really difficult to get down, because then it could possibly get in the way of the gameplay and ruin the pacing of the game. And when you're an indie studio, then you have to get more voice actors, and everything just gets a lot more difficult, so I'm not blaming them for this at all. And to be frank, they focused on what they needed to focus on to make a good game, which isn't direct storytelling Half-Life 2 style. What they did have is a lot of atmospheric world building. The finer details of the story are going to be an afterthought in your head. You're going to have questions naturally. Why am I in this hospital? Who is attacking us? What is going on? But the world does such a good job selling it that those are good questions to have. Questions I won't answer. I will let you answer those on your own when you play the game. As for the gameplay, the best way I can describe it is that this game is like if F.E.A.R had a three-way with Half-Life and Doom, and the Doom 3 UAC voice narrated it. That is to say, the combat is very much like F.E.A.R, while the downtimes are more like Half-Life, and the map design is more like Doom, or actually kind of Proteus now that I think about it. What do I mean by that? Well, these maps are pretty big, but they're not linear. However, the game does funnel you down more linear pathways. You will know where to go. This is the same exact way that Proteus did it. That is until you get to the end of the level. And pretty routinely at the end of the level, I would get lost and not know where to go. This never lasted for too long. It was just that the whole level had opened up, so I was allowed to kind of stumble anywhere I went to. When in all reality, the answer was always really close to where I needed to be, and I just needed to find something real quick, whether it be a door or an item or something, so kind of player issue there. But do note that you are allowed to explore the entire map, and sometimes this may cause issues if you're not careful. For example, one of the maps is a massive mall, and at one point, you need to find a red key and a purple key. It tells you where they are, and it does have combat encounters leading you to these keys, but if you're too busy focusing on those combat encounters, you may miss the key and then wander forever throughout the map not knowing where the keys are. I brought this up to the dev, and they said there are things they can do to try to help alleviate this. Also, if you ever walk close enough to a key, it will pop up on your map, so try paying attention to that. Anyway, again, my main point here is that these maps are not small, they're quite big maps. But the maps are generally designed in a way that isn't going to get you lost and result the key hunting like that one time in the mall. The one time they said they're going to fix. I'm recording this like 2 weeks before launch, for the record. Any other time I got stuck in this game, it was because I was stuck at a puzzle. And when I found the solution to that puzzle, I wasn't frustrated. I didn't think that the game was just designed poorly. My reaction was, oh god, I'm stupid. Why didn't I see that? This is no Phantom Fury. This is a well-designed game as far as puzzles are concerned. This is the side of the game that I said feels more like Half-Life. These puzzles are going to take up a sizable chunk of the downtime, and I never felt like they were annoying or I didn't want to do them. I wanted to explore these environments. They're so richly detailed. Now we get to the combat. As I said, it's very much like F.E.A.R, and the AI tries to replicate that. What I didn't mention are the invasion levels. This is a fancy way to say that the enemies will get stronger as you play through the game. This will pop up on your screen. Invasion level has been increased. What this means is that the enemies get new abilities. Whether it is a fancy new shield or the ability to drop a drone that's going to try to tase you. They will get significantly stronger throughout the game. This game does have a good build-up. As you get better at the game and get better tools, the enemies also get stronger, so it never feels stale. Speaking of your tools, let's talk about these guns. Something I really want to emphasize with this game is that for most first-person shooters, the main character you're playing as is not the main character, because you're not really interacting with the world through that main character. The way you interact through the world is with your guns. These guns are what is going to cause all the carnage throughout the environment. Those papers flying everywhere, those explosions, all of this stuff is because you did something with your guns. Again, to emphasize that point, you did something and it had a reaction in the environment. and that's really satisfying in the middle of all this chaotic battle. Now, I'm not going to go over every single gun in the game because I'd rather have you find them, and also talking anymore is starting to kill my voice, so yeah, explore that on your own. I will mention 3 guns though. The first one is the SMG. This is a high fire rate SMG, and I love SMGs like this. But to make things even better, you can get an upgrade where you can dual wield it. Yeah, you got 2 bullet hoses. This is incredibly satisfying. The next one is the plasma gun. I have no reason to mention this other than plasma guns are almost always satisfying, and they make the enemies just pop. And of course, you can't have a game inspired by F.E.A.R without a big meaty shotgun. Yeah, this is a double barrel pump action that lives up to the original F.E.A.R shotgun. This thing is so good. It gets my pump action going, if you know what I'm saying. These guns can be upgraded by finding safe rooms, and these safe rooms have some of the best music I've ever heard. Anyway, the upgrades for these weapons can be useful upgrades like less recoil and more accuracy. They can genuinely change how you play the game, like changing how movement works entirely. For example, you do have a dash in this game, or a slide if you dash forward, but this dash is on a cooldown. In my opinion, this cooldown is a little too long. Also, the general movement in this game is a little too slow. Nothing too huge to change, but I think having it be a little faster would make the game feel slightly better. But now there's an upgrade for the shotgun, where if you jib someone up close to the shotgun, you get your dash back. This changes how you play the game entirely. And then there are upgrades that are literally just useless but fun. For example, there's an upgrade for the shotgun that makes the jibbing even more ridiculous, and you better bet that I chose that upgrade. The one real complaint I have about the gameplay are the bosses. They're not bad, they're just repeated. The first boss you find is fine. This is it, that's the boss. The problem is, later on, anytime a boss encounter pops up, it's just the same boss, but there's another one, maybe 4 at a time by the end of it. This is not a case where a boss shows up and then it's introduced as a regular enemy later. These just feel like boss encounters. I hate to make this comparison, but Warden Eternal much? Okay, that's way too mean. This boss is actually fun to fight, unlike Warden Eternal. Still, I would have preferred to see some new bosses, like actually new bosses. Selaco is a love letter to mid-2000s FPS. It's almost like it was catered to me specifically. This is exactly the style of shooter that I love playing, and as of right now, I'm looking at this game as my game of the year. It's really early to call this, but it's gonna take something truly special to beat out Selaco here, at least for me specifically. If you like games like Half-Life, F.E.A.R, Doom, even ODST, you'll love this game. The Selaco team has put a lot of love and passion into this game, and it really shows. The release is a little interesting. It's about 7 hours long, give or take an hour depending on the player. However, it's technically in early access, so the campaign that's here is fully done, and polished, and complete. However, they're planning on releasing 2 other episodes that, when combined, will be about as long as F.E.A.R Extraction Point, so 4 or 5 hours. Those are going to finish off the story entirely, and at that point, you'll be in 1.0 state. It won't cost you any extra money. If you just buy Selaco, you'll be getting those updates as well. I think most devs would have released Selaco as just a full 1.0 game, because it certainly feels like it, but the ending of the game doesn't finish the story, so they didn't want to do that and then release expansions for more money later. So respect for me for doing that. So yeah, absolutely go buy Selaco. This is a fantastic game. And I'd like to give a huge thanks to the Selaco team for giving me different builds over the years as they've been working on this. It's been a real pleasure to see how much has progressed, because even the content in the demos they've given me have been really different than the final game, mostly for the better. This game is an absolute must play, go buy it. Hey, thanks to everyone that watched this video, and a huge thanks to my YouTube members. If you become a YouTube member, you get to see my videos early. I have like 4 videos in my backlog right now, so you have like a month's worth of content you could watch. Big thanks to everyone that subscribed. I'm close to 250k, so if you subscribe, it means a lot to me. I'm trying to get there. And of course, just thank you guys for watching in general. Dragon will see you next video.